So I've been playing Honkai Star Rail for, yeah, I would say about 4 months now. And a lot of you guys know this, but I got super burnt out playing the game maybe about 3 months in. And it wasn't really to the fault of the game. I played the game every single day. And overall, dude, the journey has been so much fun, but somewhere along the way, I just got so burnt out. I don't know if it's because this game isn't meant to be played every single day. I feel like some people do that. And I guess that must have had something to do with it. I think the story did have something to do with it. The weight of the story and the density of how this story is told. It's a visual novel, right? We talked about this in the past a few times. A lot of these gacha games are all visual novels. They're told in a pretty similar way, which is where you stand in front, all these characters stand in a circle, and they talk for 5 minutes, and then you run off into a new spot, and then you solve a puzzle, and then you go talk, and etc. And I think it's a nice, relaxing way to play a game, but if you're doing it every day, it does get really boring. With me starting Amphoreus, a lot of you guys were pretty nervous, understandably, because it's even denser. It's even thicker. The story length itself is like 52 hours long. There's dozens of important plot characters. There's arcs within arcs. There is so much to this story. So it's understandable if you guys were a little worried, thinking, oh my God, he's gonna get burnt out again. He's never gonna play my favorite game again. So tell me why this has been the most fun patch and the most engaged in the story I have ever been in so far in the 100 plus hours that I've played in this game. It's amazing. Honkai Star Rail has a lot of lovable characters, we know that, and I'll get into talking about the characters in a second, but I think what hooked me into this world the most is just the depth of it. The second you get there, you are launched into this mysterious plot, and I won't spoil too much, but you're launched into this beautiful, massive world, right? It's an entire planet on its own, and all of the other worlds you go to are their own planets, but something about this world just felt bigger. This felt like an epic, if that makes sense. I felt like we were starting the story of a grand epic. And some of the previous planets, Belobog, for instance, the very first one, is very contained. The La Fu feels like you're watching a great Chinese TV drama. And Penacony sort of feels like a fun murder mystery, mixed in with a little bit of philosophy. But Amphoreus is massive. And it's not massive in a boring or overwhelming way. There were so many readables right off the start of this patch. I think in Penacony, there weren't very many readables. Penacony was the patch before this one. So I was really craving to get my teeth and dig my grubby little fingers into this world. So they definitely didn't disappoint me there. And I think having readables in the game, for whatever reason, for me personally, can kind of be make or break sometimes. I know I got a little burnt out playing Penacony, and I think that definitely did stifle my enjoyment of that patch a little bit. I'd love to go back and play that patch again with a fresher take, but they didn't have any readables. I wish they did. So coming after a long Penacony patch and then coming into the world of Amphoreus, where there's just every corner you turn, there's something to read. It's so great. I love it because I think it's needed. This world is just the world of Amphoreus. There's just more. They have their own system of gods. They have their own astrology. This is a planet, and I guess I'll get into a little bit of spoilers here. This is a planet that is completely isolated. They've grown up all on their own. This isn't like when you go into Penacony and you're in a dreamland. I know that's a little crazy, but there's not a lot of lore there necessarily. This is an entire world where they came up with their own democracy system, their own philosophies and way of life. These people are so cut off that they've had to do this all on their own without any outside influence. So the readables are so important to get those ideas and explain them to the viewer or the player. One of the first things I love to do when I land in a new world, in not just this game, but any video game, is walk around and figure it out and get a good grasp of where I am before I go. And the readables were really good too. Really, really good for that. I don't know. I think people make fun of me for how much I like readables, but it made such a big difference for me to have all that back in the game. I don't know why I feel like they removed a lot of that from Penacony. I swear to God, I swear they did. There wasn't a lot of that in there. What I really like what they've done with Amphoreus is that they allow you, the game allows you to get as deep as you want with the world. If you want to read all the readables, sure. If you want to go walk around and talk to people and look at the shops and learn about how these people live their life, you can choose to do so. But you don't have to do that. You can actually go through the story and just skip everything if you really want. You know, however you play the game doesn't really matter to me, right? But this is just how I play my game. So after you've gotten your little fingers into this world and you started to explore a little bit, then the game unleashes the plot of this world, and my God, it's a doozy. I don't know how to do this without spoiling it. Essentially, there's a grand prophecy, and these heroes, like the guy you see on our screen, Finon, I'll talk about him in a bit, they're trying to save their world, and at least in the way that they think. They've literally been told what to do by this prophecy. But the cool thing is, there's like 12 of them. They're called the Chrysosaurs, and each one of them has gone on and has to go on a massive arc, their own story arc, to save the world one person at a time. It's like each character in this arc is like a main character. Each one has their own incredible story that they have to go through. But the cool thing is, it's not just fighting. Each character is going to complete their arc in their own way. It can be through, let's say, through strength in some ways. We do see that right at the beginning, but there are other ways to achieve the goal and fulfill this prophecy. One of the cool things about this game is that you're never thrown into the story and then the story starts. You always come in the middle of it, right? This is like, we're kind of in like the final act of this world, the final arc of this anime, if we're gonna call this world an anime, that's been going on for, let's say, 7 seasons. You know, if this were Attack on Titan, we were getting into Attack on Titan when they started making the movies. It's really cool. So as a player, you feel excited, like, oh my God, there's so much of this world to catch up on. There's so much to catch up on. What have I missed? What have all the other, have any of these Chrysos heirs completed their arcs? And oh my God, I missed that. There's so much to see. What was that like? What did that look like? I think Honkai Star Rail really has it down when it comes to making really cool, fun, compelling characters. But there's another level to these characters that we haven't really seen yet. Aside from a few characters in the last Penacony arc, Acheron, for example, Sunday, and Aventurine, and I'm sure there's a few others, did have a level of complexity that we didn't see previously. And they really have taken what they learned from those more complex characters and slapped a million of them, 12 to be exact, 12 plus, into this arc. So there's a lot of complexity with the characters. And then of course the great thing about that is then when you take more complex characters and put them all on this planet together, they all have to interact with each other. What does it mean to be a Chrysos heir? What does it mean to be a Chrysos heir with this specific person? What does this specific person think about that person being a Chrysos heir and how they're handling it? There's awesome, really engaging layers of complexity and depth with all of these characters. I guess it's not just the Chrysos heirs as well. There's a lot of other side characters in this arc and in this patch as well, or in this 3X, I guess we'll call it, world of Amphoreus. But they really do pale in comparison when it comes to the main characters of this arc, which are the Chrysos heirs. My boy on screen right here with the gray hair, his name's Finon. He is considered like perfect, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, he's so perfect. He's so smart. He's beautiful. He was amazing at school. He's like amazing at fighting. He's just so good at everything. He's surely going to be the one that saves us and burdens and takes on the world's burden. But to me, as we start to learn this character, there are a few chinks in that armor. He's not perfect because the weight of his perceived perfection weighs on him. You can see it. So how is that pressure actually affecting him under the surface? He always has a nice smile and he's always jovial, but there's a weight behind his eyes and there's a weight behind his words. So he's not perfect. So I'm like, in this story, I'm just like waiting for the visage to crack. I don't think he's evil or anything, but I think something's got to give with this guy, right? The very first patch, 3.0, dude, it took me like over 10 hours to play, which is a long time for a single patch, right? That's some games, but I think it was super necessary for this patch and the ambition and how ambitious this was going to be. The story really needed to be long enough to give a lot of screen time and depth to the characters. I think that's really what made me love the characters more. The fact that they were just on screen talking and you were connecting with them so much. And it gave the game plenty of time to drop all these massive lore bombs. Now, I'm currently in 3.2, wrapping up 3.2, so things are subject to change. I've heard that some of the later patches after like 3.4, 3.5 get a little clunky. That's some people's opinion. And I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I'm not super concerned about that right now. But I do have a couple of concerns as well with this patch so far. Even though it's long, I do find that sometimes the story was a little awkward. I think the end of Penacony really suffered with characters standing around in a circle talking about philosophy for hours on end, and this arc is definitely no stranger to that. They really enjoy doing that too. You know, at the beginning of 3.0, I get it. You're getting introduced to a lot of cool concepts, but like after like 8 hours of it, I'm like, bro, okay, let's go wrap it up. I think that's also compounded by the lack of animations as well. It's really tough to watch a bunch of characters just stand there and talk. I just recently played this game called Mongol Stardive, and I was absolutely blown away by all the character animations. It made it so much more interesting. So I do think that there is a world where some of these stories can be told in a more concise manner, for sure. I don't know if that's ever not gonna be a thing though. So I'm prepared to accept it. But I mean, I'm kind of a player that, I'm a player that enjoys the depth. I enjoy the long, convoluted philosophy conversations. I think there was a great conversation we had with two philosophers when we first landed that I really enjoyed, but that's not the problem. It's the clunkiness of it all, right? Sometimes they tell a story and they get their point across, and I'm like, great, okay, awesome. That makes a lot of sense to me. And then they keep talking about it. And I think that's the difference. And that's what people understandably get upset at. But I don't know. It doesn't drive me crazy personally. But I will say, I'm thinking right now, I feel like the pros are definitely outweighing the cons. The music has been absolutely insane once again. They've taken another step up with the music. And can we talk about the boss fight for a second? We've only had one boss fight so far, but because of the length of this game, it has felt so satisfying. But you know, you play a massive 10-hour patch, you dance around this idea for a while, they build tension, and then at the very end, there's this massive payoff with this, you know, pretty difficult boss, and it's just an absolute blast to finish an arc like that. I think my only issue is like after you beat the boss, there's like another like 2 hours of, again, the flowery talk and the conversation that kind of annoys me, and I'm prepared to have this happen with every boss fight and every patch. It's okay, I guess. But as I go on, it's something that I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's just something that we'll have to like, you know, we'll have to deal with. Nothing is perfect. This game is definitely not perfect at all, but I've been having an absolute blast with it, especially Amphoreus. So that's just what I wanted to talk about. I've been trying to put into words. I really wanted to put into words of what I thought Amphoreus was so far. I have a lot of theories, and maybe I'll save that for a separate video, a more spoilery video, because I have a lot of theories, and one was proved right recently, which I was really happy about. I was like, I was finally right about something. But overall, those are my thoughts on Amphoreus so far, and the game so far. Looking forward to completing this story. We'll probably do another video, maybe in the next patch, we'll talk about that as well, right? Sounds fun.